Nobody thought it was going to really happen. And then sometime around 11 o'clock, we got the news that Javier Solana in NATO headquarters in Brussels announced that the bombing had officially begun.
At first, you don't know what to expect. You know, you listen to news and you hear something like first missiles are launched from, I don't know, Adriatic, whatever, and they're heading for Belgrade, and you think, oh my God, where it's going to land? Are they so smart as they tell us they are?
5:30 in the morning, I'm finished with my shift. I walk out, and everything is quiet. You know, birds are singing. It was a really nice day, and I'm thinking, was this for real, or you know, what was going on? But then it turned out it was.
Ne da nam da zaboravimo da smo jednom bili vojska velika, hrabra i ponosita, jedna od retkih koja je u gubitku ostala neporažena. 6 vekova kasnije, danas, opet smo u bitkama i pred bitkama. One nisu oružane, mada i takve još nisu isključene.
His propaganda told the ordinary people, whatever it is, that they are good, they are great. Nobody is like them. Slovenians are just, lazy, German-speaking, bunch of morons. Croatians are fascists. Albanians are savages. Bosnian Muslims are mujahideens. Everybody is just a piece of... Except for Serbians. That lovely Serbian ordinary people who are so good and so great, but they are also so naive. So everybody is exploring that naivety of an ordinary Serbian. But now, my dear Serbs, you have a leader. In 1989, let's say that we all had an equal chance. There was no Soviet Union, there was no Soviet bloc anymore, so everybody could do freely whatever he wants.
We had some kind of mild communism. It was not a real communism as it was on East. We could travel. It's very, very important. We had passports, we could buy foreign books. Foreign magazines, literature.
We had lots of benefits of the independent position of Yugoslavia because we weren't a part of a Soviet bloc.
Prošlost i tradicije se poštuju, ali se i u Jugoslaviji naravno živi danas i za danas. Znači, dinamičnim životom, punim promjena.
Everybody expected that outside Yugoslavia and maybe even many people here inside Yugoslavia because we it's human, we liked to hope. We like to hope that the things were going good, but no.
There were elections, the first free elections, so-called free elections in Serbia, but like December 1990. And we were completely confident that Milosevic will lose it big way, that the opposition democratic parties will win.
Election results said that Mr. Milosevic was the most popular person, far most popular person in Serbia at the time, and that Mr. Tudjman was far more popular person and his party was far more popular party in Croatia at the time. So that's why I'm saying all the time, it's not just the political elites to blame, it's the people.
You would go out in the street and you would just think, okay, you didn't vote, but next 2 persons vote for him, and then one didn't vote for, I don't know, other 20-something candidates, on this list, and then 2 persons. And you realize, in this game that, you're completely surrounded by people that you have nothing in common, absolutely. had the feeling that like every single young person in Belgrade with the urban mentality is just listening to B92.
We were from the streets, you know, we were from everyday life. You know, we didn't go to journalism schools, we didn't go, you know, it was like from the street, you know.
All other channels were in some way controlled by this state system, you know, system within the state apparatus which would control all media.
It was nearly the whole revolution, you know, in Belgrade, like student demonstrations and all that. And it seems that it was a real big chance to ruin Milosevic, you know. It was really close to civil war in Belgrade.
These demonstrations turned out into a big fight with the police. For some short time, demonstrants managed to occupy the center of the city and to throw out the police, but Milosevic sent tanks to regain the control, and he sent police to B92, you know. Police came in the afternoon of that day with the paper from the court saying that we are banned because we called for an uprising against the system, that we've been calling for the violence against the police and against the state, and until further notice we have to shut down our operation.
They told us that we can transmit our program, but without a news service and without information, so only music could work. We made a really brilliant playlist for that time and for that kind of action.
Dešava se igra gruba štekova, na dva su puba, ja u oku sam im prv. Moram brzo proći jer u džepu imam moći, šta će biti da ću proći na terasi gajim grm. Pravila pravi Babilon, kakav petneli su tom. Pravila pravi Babilon, kakav petneli su tom.
We came back next day on the air due to amazing reaction from Belgrade people who came out to the streets against the protest, against tanks, against shutting down B92, against beating protesters and so on. But like you were completely aware that this country is really going to hell.
Serbia wasn't prepared for a democratic revolution because most of the people in Serbia, maybe not so in Belgrade, but in Serbia generally, most of the people in Serbia were still too engaged in nationalist dreams. They liked Milosevic. But the people who didn't like Milosevic, they liked Drašković, who is also a nationalist, or Šešelj, who is extreme nationalist. So tell me, what is the opposition? Do you see it? There were many signs of a war. War was just, you know, around the corner, but there still was some kind of a peace. And people, you know, people could believe in that stories because there were no situation where the stories could be on test. And when the test began, well, ordinary people realized that war hurts. In war, you can kill or be killed, and that all the songs about the war, of the greatness of war, of the heroic epic of war, were just.
I had no papers, you know, with my Belgrade home in it, things like that. So it was difficult for them to find me. They would send invitations, not invitations. They would send their call-up papers to the flats, to the house where my parents live, and they would say something like, "Oh, he's somewhere in Belgrade. We cannot contact him."
I was doing some kind of contact program with listeners, and listeners were like reporters, you know, like, I don't know, in our neighborhood, my cousin told me he was working in the army, that they will collect people tonight.
It probably saved many young people from Belgrade from going to the war. And not many people in the West knows that only 13% of people from Belgrade accepted to go to war. They had 87% of people who didn't go.
You just notice that the people are repeating some things when you ask them, do you really think so? So one day I was in the trolleybus and one woman was sitting with a child on her knees, and she said that the whole Croats are devils and so on. And I look at her, and then in one moment said, "Listen, lady, I'm a Croat." She said, "Oh, I didn't mean on you. I just, excuse me, please." He said, "I just am telling you that maybe it can hear you. Somebody can hear you." Then you actually are noticing that what it is theory or what is the propaganda, that it becomes the part of the everyday life.
It was sort of like, at least some of my friends, they were like, I'll be coming back in a couple of months or something like that. But I don't know, most of them never did.
We spoke that we were not involved in that war, that it was not our war, that Serbia was out of the war all time, you know. That it was the fight of Serbs in Bosnia, it was fight of Serbs in Croatia, but Serbia was completely out of it, you know. We were not involved, but at the same time everybody knew that Milosevic supported, you know, by arms, by soldiers, in every way that he supported all, and with paramilitary groups, what's more important, he supported, you know, that fight outside Serbia.
It's just like living on a tribal level. There's no real society. Everything is like in this system. I'm giving to you, you're giving to me, he's giving to them, and then they're giving to you again, and it's all very, very primitive.
Everybody had to smuggle something, some small things from Hungary especially, or maybe from Macedonia or Romania, you know, just to make some small money to survive, because salaries were just not enough, you know, for your everyday life.
All the shops are completely empty. For example, you have a large mega supermarket with nothing, but literally nothing to buy except toilet paper and toothpicks.
We were under embargo like Cuba, but let's say that economical standards were closer to Colombia. It was full of drugs, creeps, criminals, paramilitary squads.
Folk je narod, turbo je sistem ubrizgavanja goriva pod pritiskom u cilindar motora sa unutrašnjim sagorijevanjem. Turbo folk je gorenje naroda. Svako pospješivanje tog sagorijevanja je turbo folk. Razbuktavanje najnižih strasti kod homo sapiens. Muzika je miljenica svih muza, harmonija svih umjetnosti. Turbo folk nije muzika. Turbo folk je miljenica masa, kakofonija svih ukusa i mirisa. Ja sam mu dao ime.
Incredibly beautiful doll girls, which you could have for a couple of meals or drinks, only by selling them illusion that you are well situated. And if you got a golden chain, you know, around your neck and the golden Rolex on your left hand, and if you have a haircut like myself, you know, and you know, you were an absolute god. Maybe if you got some gun, you don't have to be a criminal, just to have a gun, it's good.
Majority of people try to be blind, you know, and to, you know, okay, I have one small problem for me, how to collect, for example, some kind of money, but that huge problems, you know, don't touch me. So I will try, you know, to have my life, have my family, you know, and that's my world.
You can transmit on TV, for example, something from Srebrenica, something from Sarajevo, siege of Sarajevo. Nobody will believe. Say it is impossible, you know, because we know that we are victims. Bosnians are not victims. Croatians are not victims. We are victims.
I was thinking, for example, Sarajevo, that is impossible that the whole Belgrade will be out, and because there was no, I think that there is no family which has no relatives. I mean, this is so close that I think it's very rare family in Belgrade who has not studied, somebody who studied in Sarajevo or who has no relatives or any relations or has been there, whatever. So I was thinking it's impossible that the people will not stop that. But we didn't stop that.
If Yugoslavia couldn't stay together after Tito, that's okay for me. But we could just, you know, we could live as good neighbors. This is Serbia, that is Croatia, that is Bosnia. Right, great. That's it. But no, they wanted to have more and more and more. You know, let's make more territories. This is ours. There are Serbs living down there in Bosnia. Yeah, great. So what? There are Hungarians living in Vojvodina, but it's not Hungary. It's Vojvodina. It's part of Serbia.
Of course, we are making progress.
I think we've made a little progress, and we're very...
Hello, how are you? Nice to see you, Mr. President. And made some progress. A lot of hard sledding.
U tom smislu izražavam optimizam u pogledu njenog uspeha. Hvala vam.
We did all these actions was to move people on the streets, to get them on the streets, to do something. They couldn't ban actions like that because there was nothing wrong with that from a Romanian point of view. But they ignored us, state media ignored us, the other radio and TV stations. We didn't really exist to them.
It was a fun time. It was clubbing all the time. A lot of booze, a lot of drugs around. It was catastrophe, you know. But in this catastrophe, it was a lot of like very strange kind of life, you know. Promiscuity, of course. Everything, you know. Because there's no limits at all. What kind of moral distance you should have in a situation when the complete society is injustice, you know, is is losing its standards. They somehow establish a devil as an angel. You know, the guy who symbolically started the whole thing was announced as a key peacemaker in the area, which was, of course, you know, absurd.
This was looking like, you know, we're stuck here with Milosevic and there is no social perspective. Suddenly you were sort of in a situation which is calm, but with no future.
In 1996, our history was 3 wars, international isolation, sanctions of United Nations, no gas, no electricity, no money, no hope. That was Serbia in 1996. And people simply had enough. The whole movement was like a love parade. So bright, so different from the despair of the streets of Belgrade. So different from all this misery and the grayness of Belgrade.
In Serbia, if you're not mad, you've gone mad. You know, you have to be positively mad around here to survive and to live your life.
You take this light bulb filled with red paint and you throw it at the building and you suddenly feel relaxed, as if you know, as if there is Milosevic no more. They never actually removed that red paint until October the 5th, when the building was on fire. So only the fire of the October the 5th actually erased our marks and RTS.
If you have demonstrations and you have, I don't know, 100,000 people on the streets, and you switch on the TV and you switch on the radio, and we hear on all TV and radio stations that there is only a bunch of people walking around the Belgrade, then you know that you have to take your own microphone and tell the truth. And the truth is 100,000 people on the streets. And that's all. That's the truth.
Među mnogima, predsjedništvo Evropske unije juče je sve strane pozvala na uzdržavanje od nasilja i tražilo od srpskih vlasti da prekinu sa ometanjem frekvencije radija B92. Režim u Srbiji učinio je upravo suprotno i zabranio rad radija B92 kao i radio Indeksa i na taj način radikalizovao postojeću situaciju u Srbiji koja bi očigledno mogla izazvati nasilje.
Dobar dan, radio 52, slušajte vesti! O ukidanju radija B92 sa šefom jugoslovenske diplomatije Milanom Milutinovićem juče u Londonu razgovarao je i visoki predstavnik za Bosnu Karl Bildt. Bio sam vrlo oštar sa Milutinovićem i vrlo otvoreno sam mu rekao šta mislim o zatvaranju radija B92. To je stanica koja je učinila mnogo tokom mirovnih pregovora i potpuno je neprihvatljivo da danas bude proglašena ilegalnom, rekao je Bildt.
Judges from the Supreme Court have denounced President Milosevic's decision to annul the elections.
It was his tactic. Put it because he would like to say, if somebody asks him, there is no democracy in Serbia. Yes, there is. You can see or hear what B92 speaks, or some intellectuals' rights. You have some medias, But it was only for exposition, to show that there is some small area of democracy.
There were not, I think, more than 30,000 people there, which was a kind of Milosevic collapse, because in the former times he could have not triple, 10,000 more people coming from the whole Serbia. And this was like having kind of a bargain with them, They paid them to come.
Slob! Slob!
And for the first time when he came to this meeting, you could see that he knew that he lost. He was very pissed off. You could see that. Because on the other side, he could see demonstrators against him, which were much louder in singing their songs against him than these people in front of him, which was shocking. And he could see police squad fighting. He could see everything.
Želim mnogo uspjeha. Želim sve da vas još jednom pozdravim. Živela Srbija! Živela Jugoslavija!
Šta rade Beograđani? Hoće li izdržati? Ja kažem, izdržat ćemo, jer je u pitanju naša čast, naša budućnost, naši ukradeni glasovi, volja našeg naroda i ne možemo da odustanemo od slobode Srbije.
That was the first major victory. That was the proof that things can change. And Milosevic was frightened of that for the very same reason. He just didn't want people to see that there is a way to vote him out.
Put this country so deep down that maybe that moment was the last chance not to ruin the complete society.
You sort of get accustomed to this notion that whatever you do, unless taking very drastic measures, you cannot remove him from power.
And I think these last 3 years, from 1970 to 2000, 4 years, was his kind of revenge to Belgrade and to urban Serbia. He really somehow successfully turned the whole world against us, which was fascinating.
The airplane performed magnificently. By all indications that we can get, the bombs went exactly where they wanted, and we did our job.
I have never seen such colors in my life. It was absolutely spectacular. You know, it looked like the end of the world, you know, like apocalypse. It was the huge row of giant smoke for nearly 4 or 5 days of the worst poisons that could be imagined. They're all put into ether, you know.
You had like two kinds of, reactions to it. One reaction is like fear, panic, and everything, and go into shelter. And the other one, people, let's have fun, we are living, It was the greatest time for having, there was best parties during the bombing, Really, it was a very good time to have fun. I wasn't once in shelter.
Many times, I remember I was sitting in my apartment and I was hearing the noise that, bombs and rockets made, but I was not too frightened of them because I knew that they were not attacking me. They were not attacking my building. They were attacking some major military or police or state-owned object, and not the civilians, basically not the civilians. Well, it wasn't 100%, but from the other side, if you hear a noise in the stairs in my building, well, you were starting to, oh my God, maybe it's the police. Maybe they came after me. Because it was the time when people could simply disappear and nobody knew how, when, where, why, and will they ever come back. That was the time of fear for the people who were, who were marked as Milosevic's enemies.
After the assassination of the journalist Slavko Churuvia, I must say I was sitting at my home with open suitcases.
We were like doing from day to day, trying to preserve that kind of spirit that were among us.
Yugoslavia! 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 Kosovo je Serbia! Kosovo je Serbia!
If you would listen to the news in radio, television, Serbia, the only thing you could think of is that you're living in a wealthy, beautiful, idyllic country. And of course, everybody knew that it's not the truth.
Just 8 of us started story in Belgrade with spreading leaflets, with spraying fist all over the Belgrade, and that's how we started spreading this idea of resistance at our faculties to fight Milosevic. First in Belgrade and then all over Serbia. we were fighting Milosevic, but we were also fighting and threatening Serbian opposition to unify themselves. And after a year and a half of our operation, we succeeded. I mean, on January 2000, they made this agreement and they unified themselves into democratic opposition of Serbia.
Dobar dan, dobrodošli u današnji dnevnik Radija B2 92 i sadržaj emisije izdvajamo najvažnije vesti. Demokratska opozicija Srbije predstavila je svoj izborni program.
Everything changed, and it probably has to do more with independent media penetrating in the provinces, and people could hear what was actually going on.
Nastavili protesti Srba u Zvečanu zbog preuzimanja Trepča od strane Kejfora. Ministarstvo zdravlja propisalo cenu od 45.000.
We organized Association of Independent Media in Serbia, and we were in position to promote our ideas and to promote program of B92 in a much more bigger region than half of Belgrade was in the beginning.
I thought, my God, he's gone completely mad. He's gone completely mad. He's going to lose the elections. And of course, I knew that he will try to avoid that and try to loot elections. But for a single moment, I didn't believe that he could succeed in that. Because I saw from the many contacts with the people around Serbia, ordinary people, from many people who supported Milosevic before, I saw that he definitely lost his supporters. And I knew he will be a loser.
You had like Slobodan Milosevic and Koštunica. Me personally, I voted for Koštunica because there was nobody else, you know. I didn't vote for him because I thought he is a good guy and he's like, you know, the best in the world and he will change everything. It's to think that way.
When he saw what has he done, actually, he was it was at the act of panic, you know. No, nothing happened. Nothing happened. What you saw, you haven't seen anything. No, nothing happened. Let's play from the beginning. Of course, nobody was such a fool to be a part of that game.
I thought it would just be another day, protests, demonstrations. But the people who came were determined to fight until the final victory, actually.
I had a lot of tear gas thrown at me during those years that I was involved in demonstrations, but this was something different because you just couldn't walk. A friend of mine, he like fainted and started throwing up. But somehow we made it to RTS, and there were police officers. We were throwing rocks at them, and they were at first just trying to scare us, and then they started shooting with rubber bullets. So they hit a couple of guys, and they fall down on the ground, so we tried to make a charge. And as we came to the door, I saw a cop like pulling a gun out and pointing it into this guy, and he just dived onto the ground. I was like right next to him, so I did the same thing, and then this guy started shooting at us.
Many things were happening all the time, so I was just, you know, from room to room. I was checking what's going on the radio, then on what television. All TV stations were taken over in a couple of hours. Some of them were surrounding by themselves. Some were calling somebody, please, can you take us over? This was pretty interesting, you know, to watch. You're sitting there at home, watching how one by one TV station is first going into black and then changing probably like completely.
It was so much of tear gas in assembly building that I closed my eyes and turned out my camera and just you know, filming like this. I hope the material will be okay.
By the end of the day, we understood, like 8 o'clock in the evening, we understood that Milosevic is either not in the city or doesn't have any control, because he was left without any media. He could have now take them over only by a brutal force, which will be another downfall for him.
The result is that he didn't fulfill what he promised at the beginning. Nobody criticized this project, which produced the war. But intellectuals here, political parties, leaders, they criticize Milosevic because he didn't fulfill. And he is punished because he didn't fulfill what he promised, not because of his project, you know.
Just remember, he lost the elections with just a few % in advance of non-Milosevic, which is quite significant result still. That means that 48, 47, 46% of potential voters of Serbia still voted for Milosevic at that point. And this minority is not a small minority at all.
Like, he's leaving the politics because he wants to spend the rest of his life with his family, especially with his grandson, you know, and he's thanking people which came out the election, and especially the people which were not voting for him, you know, that gave him this opportunity to, like, to rest in peace, you know. Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
Želim da zahvalim svima koji su mi ukazali poverenje i na ovim izborima za mene glasali, ali da se zahvalim i svima koji za mene nisu glasali, jer su mi sa duše skinuli jedan veliki teret odgovornosti koju nosim već punih 10 godina.
I mean, basically, he's a fool. And that makes us even much bigger fools, because we were ruled by a complete idiot for all these years.